Welcome back to It Figures. Tonight I am going to be reviewing NECA's Predator 2 City Hunter. And this is pretty much sort of the special edition of the Predator, or from Predator 2, which comes in this big fancy box. And I'm not sure if they ever made a Predator 2 figure. This is my first one that I have, so I'm not really sure how many of these they've actually produced. Now, to be completely honest with you, I thought Predator 2 was a pretty terrible film. But the Predator himself in the movie is actually my favorite Predator out of all of the films. Alright, so the box opens up just like this. It does have some Velcro on there. And on the inside of the cover is a picture of the figure. And over here is the figure himself. And a big, wide open window that you can see all of his stuff with. For collectors, this is a pretty nice box with a wide open window, like I said. And it's a pretty attractive box. I mean, if you want to just keep him in the box like a lot of collectors do, that's fine. But here on It Figures, we always open the figure. So let's go ahead and open up Predator 2 and see what he looks like. I would say the Predator is probably my all-time favorite movie monster, or alien, I guess you want to call him. And he is just amazing from top to bottom. And surprisingly, I don't own that many Predator figures. I think I only have this one and one other one. So let's get right into this here. Let's take a look at the detail. And wow, I mean, just simply wow. Take a look at this. One of my favorite things on the Predator himself is this helmet. I just always love the design of it. And here, NECA just knocked it out. I mean, the textures of it is incredible. And if you take a look at the eyes, let's take a look a little closer here. You can see it has sort of the mesh that's inside the eye. And it's not just like in the eye, it's embedded in there to where it looks like, you know, it's in the mask. Like it's like inside the mask is what I'm trying to say. Just great, just love it. And again, look at that texture on that mask. It looks like he's been through several wars. And this is the reason why I love the second Predator so much, because they just amped up the costume and it looks fantastic. I mean, I don't think there's a single part of this figure that just something isn't going on. I mean, there's something everywhere on this figure. Everywhere you look, there's something on this figure. The netting here is exceptional. It's fantastic. And the Predator himself, I guess, has sort of almost like a wet type of texture to him. And that's on here too. So if you can see that, if the camera picks it up, he does have sort of this gloss-like texture. So let's take a look at some of his amazing armor that he has on here. Here is his left shoulder plate that he has on. And if you move it over a little bit here, you can see the texture on his shoulder, which I never even noticed on the Predator himself, but it does have like this almost like scaly, bumpy type of texture on the shoulder. And then he has sort of the breastplate, I guess it would be, that attaches to his gun up here on his shoulder, which I'll show you in a minute. And again, it's larger on this side than this over here. But let's flip him around so you can take a look. While I'm doing that, you can see his other shoulder plate here is actually completely different than the one on the other side. So that's really cool. So you flip him around, just take a look at this. I mean, it's pretty incredible. I pretty much run out of words to say when I do these amazing figures. That's why I'm always repeating myself. You know, outstanding, incredible, amazing. I mean, I don't know really what other words to use. So it goes all the way down to his back. You can see his armor goes all the way down to his waist, and it comes up here to the back of his head. Now, recently, NECA has been known for it's not great quality work they're doing, because the last few figures I've had, if you'd watched some of my reviews, the joints were really loose on a few, and then another one that I had, which was Vasquez, her gun broke as soon as I touched it. And this here seems like that sort of quality. It's very, very thin hinge here. I'll open it up for you, but you can see what I'm talking about. I mean, it seems like this could break very, very easily. But inside here is the codes, you know, to set off the nuclear weapon or whatever it is that he does, self-destruct. But the quality and the sculpt here itself is incredible. It has all the little dots there. It's amazing. But if you do get this figure, make sure you be very careful with this, because I think this could break very easily. And here is the sculpt of his hand, and again, like the rest of the Predator, it's sort of shiny because I think that's sort of the skin texture, really, of these creatures. And the paint here is just incredible. I mean, again, I don't know what other words to describe this type of sculpture. It's literally a work of art is what these are, and that's why I do these reviews. That's the inside of his forearm, and I mean, just, you know, what can you say? As for his right arm, he has, of course, these blades that come out, and they do come out, but I don't see any lever. I don't think there's any lever. You just kind of have to push them in and pull them out yourself. They don't come out too far. That's about as far as they come out. Again, I don't want to, you know, break this. Here are the blades from the side, and they just push in. If I can get them in, there you go. And I mean, they come out a decent amount, but you know, that's about pretty much what the movie is. So the armor around his belt is actually held on by a string, if you can see that. Get his other hand out of the way here. And it goes all the way around, but he also has, I guess these must be trophies. These are bones from other creatures he's killed, which are also hung on strings that go around his chest here. And on his back, he also has, again, the armor. And it looks like underneath the armor is another piece of bone or something that he got from another kill. And there is a Predator's butt. If you ever want to see what the Predator's butt looks like, there it is. On his right leg, he has a disc here. And again, look at this detail. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just so much stuff going on here. And this is one of my favorite things that they added to the Predator from the second movie. I love this thing. It's sort of like a boomerang almost. And he just throws it. It's kind of a combination, I guess, of the boomerang and the thing they used in Mad Max, the Road Warrior, where I guess it cuts people's heads off or whatever. And there are tons of accessories for this figure. But yeah, the one accessory I guess attaches here, which is really cool. So his legs, just like his upper body, are covered with that net, and it's all sculpted into his skin. It's not, you know, cloth or anything. And he has these knee pads, as you can see here. And underneath the knee pads, he sort of has his shin guards, and it goes down to his feet, which are just as well sculpted as the rest of the figure. As I was showing his feet, guess what just fell off? I didn't even touch it, and it went bloop and just fell off. I don't think it's broke, as far as I know. I think the hinge is so loose on this thing that it just, there you go, it just barely falls off. But I don't think it's broke. And again, this is, you know, not acceptable quality from a high-end figure like this from NECA. And, you know, they really need to start amping up their game a little bit. But I don't think that's broke. It might be, but it still sits in place. So that's okay. Alright, so now for articulation. Let's take a look at that. His head is actually on a ball-jointed stem. And again, you gotta be a little bit careful because his head just kind of pops off on here. Because you can take his head off and replace it with another one. But yeah, he has a ball-jointed head. Again, there it is. His head just popped off and there it went. Both arms are, once again, ball-jointed. And they move at the shoulder, at the wrist, at the elbow. Hand moves back and forth. So very articulated. His waist also ball jointed. Both legs ball jointed. Knees, of course, bend, but they don't rotate. And feet also bend and rotate. I have had a little problem getting him to stand. I mean, he can stand pretty well on his own, but he has fallen over quite a few times when I'm trying to do this review. So standing wise, I mean, it's okay, but you need to be a little bit careful trying to get him to stand up all the way and make sure he doesn't fall. First accessory, I guess if you want to call this an accessory, is his face without the mask on. And again, sculpt-wise, fantastic. Look at this paint. I mean, and this is all textured too. It's not just a flat surface. You can take a look at that there. I mean, that's just ridiculous. That's so amazing looking. And I love the fact that they have a sculpt of the mouth open, because that's much more impressive than the mouth closed on these figures, which I think at the last one I had, the mouth was closed on. But yeah, I love the fact that it has the open mouth on it. And he has sort of, you know, this dreadlocks back here. And there are tons of these, as you can see. There's so many of them. You actually got to move them out of the way just to get to the hole here to put onto his neck. And each one of these is detailed as well, and the paint applications are pretty much perfect. So yeah, just an incredible sculpt here, really, really well painted, and it's nice and shiny and wet like the rest of the figure. Next we have a different set of hands. This one is a little bit more open. This one here is kind of odd. It's a closed hand, and it looks like he's saying like stop or something. You know, it's a very weird sculpt, but I'm not sure why they decided to add this one to the accessories, but it's kind of strange. And here is his last hand that he has, and as you can see, it looks like he is going to be able to grip something, which I'm about to show you here in a minute of what it is he's gripping. So that's cool that they actually have an extra hand for him to grip things. And this is what he would be gripping, and what this is a staff that he has. And the staff, well, there's another accessory, but the staff opens up. It'd be kind of cool though if they had somehow been able to do this, but there's two different ones. There's a closed staff, and you can look at the ridiculous detail on here, and the paint's just great. And here is the open staff. Now, once again, NECA, I took this out of the package, barely touched this on the end, and what do you think happened? It broke off. So here you go, yet another broken piece from these figures. And I am really getting annoyed by this, NECA, because I love your figures, I love the paint jobs, they're amazing, but every time I get one of your figures now, something breaks, and it's not acceptable. So here is the detail on the center, and as you can see, it opens up like here, and then opens up here, and then of course, well, let me show you the non-broken side, and then the spear comes out of the end here. Now here is another extra, and NECA is giving us so many extras with these figures, but they don't show where any of these go. I mean, that's the thing too, you gotta sit there and look at the figure for 20 minutes to figure out, what is this? Where does it go on the figure? And as of right now, I have no clue. I'll have to look at the figure and figure out what this even is. I don't know. And again, here is a little piece of something. I guess it must be his armor, but no instructions come with these, so it has a little peg here on the back. It probably, attaches to the figure someplace, but what it is, where it goes, I have no idea. And here is another little weird thing that goes on the Predator somewhere. Again, looks like a piece of his armor, but what it is, no idea. Now we get this, and this, I guess, is the shot that comes out of his thing he has on his shoulder when he shoots somebody. So I know they started releasing some of these on some of these figures, and I think these are just kind of goofy myself, but I mean, that's what it is. Now you got this disc that I was talking about that he pulls off of his hip pouch, or whatever you want to call it, and he throws it at people. And the detail here is fantastic, and I really am happy with what they did with this thing. It's all one color, but it's just really, really cool. And I left one of the coolest things for last, and this of course is the human skull with the backbone attached to it. Now again, sculpt wise, it's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. The paint is fantastic, as you can see. It's all bloodied up and just incredible looking. So really, really happy they included this with the figure. And it seems like the spine is a little flexible. Again, don't want to break it, because anything I touch on these figures break. But I wouldn't suggest you sit there and bend the spine much. But the spine is a little bit rubbery. But again, sculpt here, paint wise on this thing, outstanding. So I found out the first little piece actually fits into his forearm band here, and there's a little hole here where it just fit right into it. Next piece of the puzzle actually goes on his leg, at the bottom of his leg, and I think that would be a holder for this, possibly? Maybe? No, because that's too big, but it looks like it's a holder for something. I mean, obviously it's not going to be this, and that just falls off of there, but I don't know what it would hold. There's an opening here, there's a hole here on the top of it, and I don't really have anything that it fits in there. Of course, this here fits into his pouch, and it fits really well in there, actually. Found the place for his staff. It actually goes onto his back. There's a little hook here, and his staff attaches to. So as for this little last piece, this is the only one I can't find where it actually goes on the figure. And this door, yep, it broke. It's the little tiny hinge was cheap, and it just broke off. And I didn't even, force it, and I was just looking at the figure, and it fell off, and it's broke. All right, so let's bring up the old Figometer and see how the Predator's stacks up. So I'm going to change the rating board just because of NECA now. And I'm not just going to give it an overall score. I'm just going to have to score individual pieces on this. So as for the sculpt itself, it gets a 5 out of 5. From top to bottom, the figure looks amazing. As for paint, again, this paint job could not have been any better, and it gets a 5 out of 5. The accessories, they're really cool. There's a lot of really great accessories. I don't know where half of them go because, there's no instruction booklet, and you're looking at this figure for 10 minutes trying to figure out a hole or look for something that it might attach to, and I don't really have a complaint with all the accessories, except, they broke, some of them, and some of them are really fragile and they just kind of fall out. So accessories, what actually comes with him is also gets a 5 out of 5. Now, the problem becomes the quality of this figure. What is the quality? Well, the wrist thing broke off, the spear broke before I even touched it. A lot of the pieces itself do not stay attached like this here, the disc. It's already fallen out several times while I was recording this. Quality of this figure would get a 2 out of 5. So standability, that's going to be a brand new thing here on It Figures. So will the figure stand on its own? So standability, he gets a 3 out of 5. He will stand on his own, but you just have to find that pose for him to stay in and make sure he doesn't fall over once he's in that pose. So again, this is an amazing paint, amazing sculpt, lots of great extras, but the quality of the figure just is not very good. You don't want to spend $20, $25 on these figures and just have them break in your hands as soon as you touch them. I mean, come on, NECA, you can do better than this. And I actually have 2 more NECA figures that I did buy that I need to review still, and now I'm really worried about the quality of each one of those. Well, let's just hope it's a little bit better than the Predator. So I hope you liked tonight's review. If you did, make sure you hit that subscribe button so I can see you next time on It Figures.